For years, the rumors have been whispered in the NASCAR garage. They were discussed on message boards and speculated in the dark corners of social media. The connection between a race-winning NASCAR driver and the criminal enterprise of Jeffrey Epstein. Was Brian Vickers a co-conspirator? Was he a victim? Or was he simply a celebrity prop, used by a predator to gain access to a world of high-speed legitimacy? Until today, we only had speculation. But now we have the files. We have unsealed court documents, flight logs, and, most damning of all, the internal emails sent between the associates of Jeffrey Epstein and the driver himself. In this forensic investigation, we are going to reconstruct the timeline. We're going to look at the exact dates Brian Vickers entered this circle. And we will show you how a promising career in the number 55 Toyota was systematically dismantled by the company he kept. This is episode 1, the introduction. To understand why Brian Vickers was vulnerable to these associates, you have to understand the professional cliff he walked off in late 2011. 4 or 5 years, Vickers had been the face of Red Bull racing in America. It was a factory team with unlimited budget, global marketing, and championship aspirations. But when the checkered flag waved at Homestead in November 2011, Red Bull didn't just fire him. They dissolved the entire team. They sold the assets, closed the shop, and left the sport entirely. Brian Vickers went from being a corporate superstar to being unemployed overnight. The 2012 season was approaching, and every quality seat was taken. His only option, his only lifeline, was a unique, high-pressure experiment at Michael Waltrip Racing. He wasn't hired as the full-time driver. He was hired as a relief pitcher. The car was the number 55 Aaron's Dream Machine. But the primary driver was the legendary Mark Martin. Mark would drive the majority of the schedule. Michael Waltrip would drive the restrictor plate races. Brian Vickers, he was given the leftovers. Just 6 races. Bristol, Martinsville, New Hampshire, Sonoma, Watkins Glen. That was it. 6 chances to prove he still belonged in the Cup Series. 6 weekends to save his career. So, in early 2012, Brian Vickers had something most race car drivers don't have: free time. And he had a desperate need for networking, for sponsorship, and for future. It was in this vacuum, this moment of professional fragility, that he attended a brunch that would change his life forever. Let's open the file. This is Exhibit A in our timeline. I want to read the metadata to you, because in a forensic investigation, what is just as important as the what. Date: Sunday, February 19th, 2012. Timestamp: 1:08 a.m. Now, let's look at the calendar. Sunday, February 19th, was exactly 1 week before the 2012 Daytona 500, while the rest of the NASCAR industry was in Daytona Beach, preparing for qualifying and the biggest media week of the year. Brian Vickers was seemingly elsewhere. The email sent by an associate of Epstein reads, "Had brunch with him earlier, and Brian Vickers, NASCAR driver." Notice the parenthetical, NASCAR driver. At this point, in February 2012, Vickers is a stranger to them. He is a novelty, a guest. They have to explain who he is to the recipient. But the next sentence reveals a dynamic immediately. Quote, "Brian is trying to put the moves on. We need to pause here. This is a critical piece of evidence." This phrasing, "try to put the moves on," tells us the nature of the interaction. This was not a sponsorship pitch. This was not a driver looking for a logo to put on his fire suit. This was a personal pursuit. The document suggests Vickers was initiating a romantic pursuit of Sarah Kellen, a woman who we now know was one of Jeffrey Epstein's top lieutenants. While his career at Michael Waltrip Racing was hanging by a thread, Vickers was actively courting entry into a social circle that was already under federal scrutiny. Let's fast forward 3 months. May 2012. The relationship has escalated quickly. We found an itinerary in the unsealed files dated May 20th, 2012. It details a trip to the Monaco Grand Prix. Now, on the surface, a race car driver going to Monaco sounds normal, but look closer. The associate writes, I had already scheduled to go to Monaco Grand Prix with Brian from the 24th to the 28th. That J.E. said was okay. J.E. is Jeffrey Epstein. This confirms that by May 2012, Brian Vickers was traveling on trips that required the direct approval of Jeffrey Epstein himself. He was no longer just the NASCAR driver they met at brunch. He was part of the itinerary. But here's a detail that only racing fans will understand. The dates, May 24th to May 28th. That is Memorial Day weekend. That is the weekend of the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the longest race on the NASCAR schedule. Why was Brian Vickers in Monaco and not Charlotte? Because of that unique contract with Michael Waltrip Racing. The number 55 car was racing in Charlotte that day, but Mark Martin was behind the wheel. Because Vickers was only a part-time driver, he was free. He didn't have to be at the track. And instead of staying in Charlotte to support his team or to network in the garage, he chose to fly across the Atlantic with Epstein Circle. It was a choice that symbolized his entire year. 1 foot in the garage, hoping for a ride, and 1 foot in a world of private jets and high-stakes shadows. As the summer of 2012 turned into 2013, it seemed like Brian Vickers had won the gamble. He performed well in his 6 races. MWR was impressed. Sponsors were interested. The path to a full-time seat in the number 55 seemed clear. But what Michael Waltrip Racing didn't know, what the sponsors at Aaron's didn't know, was that their new star driver was now deeply embedded with a group of people who were about to become radioactive. In our next episode, we will reveal the panic. We have emails from 2013 where the corporate vetting process finally caught up with reality. We'll show you the morals clause discussions and the moment the sponsors realized exactly who Brian Vickers was dating. This is Scape News. Support our independent reporting by joining the channel, and we'll see you in the files. As always, be safe. Welcome to the Inner Circle. This isn't just a membership, it's a mission. You're supporting forensic truth, mythic blends, and ceremonial broadcasts that honor every moment. Members unlock exclusive enhancements, behind-the-scenes alerts, and direct access to the pulse of Scape News and leading sponsor, Gold Rush Fever Specialty Coffee. Join us and help shape the signal. We thank you, and as always, stay safe. That's the latest from Scape News. We're live. We're watching. We thank you. Subscribe, like, share, and ring the bell so you don't miss what breaks next. Stay with us. We appreciate you. And as always, be safe.